All right, so third grade is going to be making, for their clay project this year, a ceramic house. And when they are finished, we will be able to do a little bit of painting in a different material than what we've used before. We're going to be using glaze that creates this lovely shiny coating. I know we didn't use that last year when we made our little pinch pot monsters. Last year we just painted them with tempera paint, but this year we're actually going to use specially formulated paint just for clay. So here are two cute little examples of houses, down to the roofs and even a little chimney on the top. What you decide to make for your house is going to be up to you. There's lots of different things that you can do for houses, but the first thing you should do to start with is you should take your piece of clay, press it down with your hand, and then using the wooden rolling pins and a piece of paper on your table surface, we're going to roll out our clay. If you are working at home, then you want to make sure to have your table covered with something, because this will stick to the table and it will also stick to, like a placemat or a fabric tablecloth or anything like that you might have on your table. So make sure you've cleaned off the area. You can use a piece of tin foil, you can use a piece of wax paper, you can use a piece of parchment paper, which is what a lot of bakers use for cookies, or you can just use a couple of sheets of newspaper, and that's fine too. Any kind of clay that you can use, you can find, and you can use for your houses. I have attached a whole bunch of links for those of you online so that you can make your own clay. You can make that with all kinds of interesting and not very expensive materials. You can use cornstarch and baking soda, you can use flour, you can use salt. This is a kiln-fired clay, which means I'm going to take whatever I'm finished with today, I'm going to let it dry completely, and I'm going to put it in the big contraption known as a kiln, and I'm going to fire it. No, I'm not going to tell it does not have a job any longer, but I'm going to bake it, and I usually bake it around 2,000 degrees. Your oven at home will not get up to 2,000 degrees, so if I put this in your oven at home, it really would not do anything, and when I got it out, it would just be dry and crumbly, and it would kind of be destroyed. So this clay is only for working on here at school. I'm going to just show you the basics of how to get started with a house. So let's just pretend that I have a tiny little square for the floor in my house. So I'm going to cut out that piece and put the rest off to the side for just a minute. Smooth out my edges. And now I'm going to attach some walls. The best way to measure is to take the piece of clay that you already have rolled out. You don't need to crumble it up again. And I'm going to measure. I know that I need a wall that's going to be this wide. And maybe I'm going to make it, well, as tall as I can make it with the piece of clay that I've already got cut. So I'm going to cut out my first wall. There is my wall. Let's put that off to the side for just a second. It would be very easy to just take this wall and stick it on here and then move on with the rest of your building project, but you can't if you want to make sure that that's going to stick, because if you can see, when I take my piece of clay, if I tried to pick it up with that wall, that is not attached. It's just pressed in there. The best way to attach a piece of clay is by a method called slipping and scoring. Now, we call it the zipper. So I'm going to take any one of my clay tools, and you can see me making tiny little scratch marks. I am not making scratch marks that dig all the way through the clay. We're not trying to make a comb. We are just trying to rough up the surface. So I'm going to rough up the surface on both sides. And I'm going to take a tiniest little bit of water. If we call this a zipper, you have your teeth on both sides of the piece like a zipper would be, and then when I attach it, I'm going to take those scratch marked pieces of clay and they're going to interlock, kind of like this, and that will create a nice steady stable surface, as opposed to just taking two pieces of clay and attaching them like this. If you just do like this, then things can slip around on you. So now that I've got those in place, I am going to come back in here and I'm going to smooth it a little bit with my fingers, just to make sure it's really pressed into place. Now watch what happens when I pick it up. See how the whole thing went with it? That's what you want. If you use those teeth marks, you don't have to worry about things falling apart. When you continue building your house, I want you to keep in mind of two things. There are no definite rules as to what your house needs to look like, but there is a definite rule that you have to use your zippers. So as you start attaching things, make sure you're attaching them with the zipper. Do you want to build furniture inside your house? Do you want to carve a design to show some kind of carpet or wooden floor? or maybe a tile floor like a kitchen? Do you want windows or doors? Do you want to make a table? How about a TV? Whatever you have in mind for building your house. If you're going to need to put things inside the house before you build the walls, like your floor or your furniture or your refrigerator or whatever you've got planned there, make sure that you're doing that beforehand so that they are all securely attached to the base and you don't have to try and fuss around with trying to get them inside a door. The other thing you want to make sure to do is you want to make sure that this is actually going to be open on the inside. We don't want to create a house out of a solid piece of clay. Any other questions for clay-related items? You can always ask your friendly neighborhood art teacher. Now, at the end of class, we're going to need to store these somewhere, and what you will do is you will find a plastic container with a lid. You're going to find a piece of masking tape stuck to your table and a marker, and you're going to write your name on that piece of tape, just like Ava has done right here. You're going to take your little house in progress. You're going to put it inside your plastic container. You're going to take all those extra pieces of clay that you have, and you are going to place them gently inside your container, making sure to snap the lid nice and tight, and then this is going to be stored on the shelf where your teacher's name is at the back of the room, and then we don't have to worry about it drying out until the next time you come to class. Next time you come to class, you open it back up, you get all your things back out, and we continue building. All right, that is clay houses for third grade. Let's get started.